Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Fed Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading, and today is January 24th, 2025, and today is Friday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, watching the U.S. markets rally higher yesterday. But first, looking at today's major economic events. So we start out the day with lots of Flash Manufacturing and Services PMI numbers coming out at 10:15 from France, 10:30 from Germany, 11:30 from Great Britain, and at 4:45 from the United States. Now, looking at the market, starting out with the Forex symbols, we're watching the British pound and Canadian dollar advance versus the US dollar. Talking about the US markets, the indices, both the Dow Jones and the Nasdaq rally higher. Now, looking at commodities, gold breaks higher while natural gas continues to slide. Now, looking at the stock, Meta back on its highs, and Amazon continues to rally higher. And lastly, looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin gets a bounce. So let's take a look at markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here you go. With the Euro USD, as we first start, a couple of things. It is gaining versus the dollar because the dollar is getting weaker. Why is the dollar getting weaker? Because the US markets are getting higher. And that's exactly what's going on here. Now, this wasn't much of a bounce, but if we look at the GBP, a much larger bounce back to 124. That's a big comeback for the GBP. And we're getting close to that 30-day moving average, which I would use as a resistance-ish area. Looking at the Canadian dollar, also advances versus the US dollar. Not big, it's still in a range, but it did advance nonetheless. Now, jumping into commodities, let's take a look at gold. Nice rally up, only 10 points away from our all-time record highs. If we look at a daily chart, you can see that much clearer. 27.87 is our high, all-time record high, and we're at 27.76. So it continues to go up on this area. Now, we've mentioned this several times. It did break out higher. Once it broke out that 27.21, that's where it's going to take out on the upside as well. Now, natural gas is continuing to slide here to 339, the 389, excuse me. No, 339. That's what it is, 339. My eyes are not as young as they used to be. And so we could continue to slide, okay, further down. Okay, this is a huge gap down and a sell-off that comes after it. So that can continue going further down. Now, I would treat this area-ish between 340 and 334 as a supportish level, so keep that in mind as a possible bounce. Now, looking at the U.S. markets, Dow Jones, 44,734. We're only about 250 points away from our all-time record highs, so that's closing in. So it's kind of showing you it's not just the high-tech stocks, it's the regular market that's moving higher. If you look at the tech stocks, they also rallied back. I mean, that's a daily. We're almost back to our all-time record highs of 22,133. Now, we're only about 100 and something points away from it. Now, it's not systemic. It doesn't mean that every stock went higher. There are certain stocks that went back to their all-time record highs, and there's some that didn't. And there's like this list of strong stocks and weak stocks. So let's take a look at it. Which ones are strong? Which ones are weak? So Facebook is very strong back to its highs. Okay, if we look at Amazon, also continues to rally higher to 235, so showing some tremendous strength. Netflix rebounded after it had that gap up and then a little bit of a sell-off, now rebounding back to its highs. Tesla, not as much, okay? That's on my weak side, okay? If we look at Apple, also on my weak side. Microsoft did rally a bit, but it's trading within a range, so not a really big deal, okay? But if we want to look at the old school stocks, like the bank stocks, JP Morgan, very, very strong all-time record highs here at 265. This is just tremendous for JP Morgan. Now, let's take a look at NVIDIA, and then we'll look at Bitcoin. NVIDIA back to its highs of 145. That's a big comeback as well. And last and not least, looking at Bitcoin, bouncing off of that 101K. That's where our heads go. $100,000 is a very, very big psychological number. And as long as it bounces off of it, that's good. We're consolidating at this upper range. It's finding its footing. Question is when it's going to take. And it looks like it's setting itself up with a wedge formation, okay, which will give us some sort of extreme move on either side. So that's something to consider as well. This is Fed Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day and a good weekend. Thank you.